Welcome to the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddy on Twitter. Back with you here for another NFL DFS divisional round showdown matchup breakdown. We're talking about the Giants and the Eagles here in this one. And let's talk here a little bit about Showdown, how it differs from my typical main slate videos that you may know me from. So in the Showdown, the format's just different. So what you've got is you've got a captain spot, which is going to have 1.5 times the salary of what the player would be in the flex, but they also get 1.5 times the points that they would get in the flex. And then you've got 5 flex spots to go along with it. And basically, what you're looking to do here is very similar to, the main slate, the regular videos where, correlation is important, but correlation here really is key. So definitely need to correlate that captain. If it is, going to be a pass catcher, almost always want to correlate them with the quarterback. If it's a quarterback, then it depends on usually just simply their mobility. If not, just how many points you expect to be scored in the game. But typical pocket passer, I'm looking to stack him with 2 pass catchers, because if a pocket passer is going to be optimal in the captain spot, then they're obviously having a pretty big game, and they're definitely bringing one guy along with them, almost surely a second as well. If they're a more mobile quarterback, kind of like the guys we're going to talk about today, then I'm fine with stacking them with just 1 pass catcher, because we do expect that they do some damage on the ground. And then basically, you want to just think about, well, how do I think this game is going to go? What's the script going to look like? And then you build your lineups around that script. So in this particular matchup, Giants and Eagles, I'm expecting an Eagles victory. I'm expecting the game to remain relatively close, but be low scoring. So maybe something along the lines of 20-17, something along those lines. So that does open up some possibilities different from what we would normally do. I'm a little more interested in the kickers in this matchup than I would be in something like, let's say, the Jags and the Chiefs. And I'm more interested in the defenses as well, as opposed to a higher scoring game like, again, Jags and Chiefs. So that's kind of the breakdown there for showdowns versus, just regular type lineups. But let's go ahead and pop into things. Let's talk about captains. Mostly Jalen Hurts is the guy that I'm interested in. I think Jalen Hurts, obviously, a quarterback that can run like he can and still get it done in the air because of the weapons that he has. He's always in play for captain. And based on his mobility, his ability to not just run, but also score on the ground, I'm only going to force 1 pass catcher with him. More than likely, it's going to be, Devontae Smith. It's going to be A.J. Brown. It's going to be Dallas Goedert. But you can feel free to get a little bit different and throw somebody else in there if you want to save some money. And it could be any one of the guys basically that I'm going to talk about here as a flex option. Daniel Jones is in a similar situation. He's going to get some work on the ground. He's going to probably get some work in the air. Again, it's going to be relatively low scoring, I think. So I'm not forcing quarterbacks, into this position. And I'm only going to stack him with 1 pass catcher because, again, I think he's got the opportunity to get a lot done on the ground, especially, via a touchdown. So other guys I'm interested here as far as like pass catchers would be concerned, Dallas Goedert, I'll sprinkle him in. A.J. Brown, I'll sprinkle him in. Maybe even a little Richie James, maybe, throw him in, 1 or 2 captain spots. And then I could see mixing in some Miles Sanders as well. When I do Miles Sanders, I'm not really correlating him with anyone in particular, maybe the Eagles defense, but I could see getting, some exposure there to him. He did have 144 yards and 2 touchdowns in the last matchup against the Giants. So, I'm interested there. Quarterback specifically, again, very interested in both of these guys, even with a fairly low scoring game, because they're going to get it done through the air. They're going to get it done on the ground. I'm probably looking to have definitely, 8% or more exposure to both of these guys. I would set a rule that says have to have at least 1 quarterback, be it in the flex or in the captain spot per lineup. That probably naturally is going to happen on its own, but that's where I'm looking. Same thing as how I play them in the captain spot. If I'm playing Hurts or I'm playing Jones, I still am going to go ahead and force 1 pass catcher with them. If more pop in, fine, but I'm gonna pair him with at least 1, I think that that's the best way to correlate that. And I think the quarterback spot typically is pretty simple, but here I think it's just as simple as it ever could be. Running backs. Obviously Saquon is a monster here. I am worried though about what's going to happen in this game, even though it's going to be low scoring, and I expect that he's going to get some touches. He didn't fare super well in the two matchups earlier this year. Grand total of 27 carries, grand total of I can't do math real quick. 91 yards and a touchdown. A little bit of damage to the air, but nothing too crazy. 7 catches, 38 yards between the two games. So, 19 was what his high was between the two. I don't think he'll quite get there. Personally, I'm thinking more probably, in the 15 neighborhood. So it's going to be hard at an $11,200 price on DraftKings to get a whole lot of them in here. But I think that's where I maybe get a little bit unique in this showdown, because I think, Saquon's going to be popular. Well, he should be, but I imagine my exposure is going to remain, 20% or less. Now, Miles Sanders, as I mentioned in the captain spot, I have some interest here because he did have a big game, a 30-point game the last time they played. So, I could see 25 to 40% exposure there. And I don't mind slipping in a little bit of Gainwell. He's a pass catcher, so you can see him, getting a couple catches. It's only 2,600, so good way to save some salary if you want to as well. Probably no more than 10%, but just somebody I wanted to mention because he is in the player pool, and I probably will have some limited exposure to him. Wide receivers, this is typically where, your money's made in showdowns. And wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, of course. Probably not going to be over 40% on any one guy. Again, I don't expect a high-scoring game here, so I'm going to have my exposure, spread out. Richie James, Darius Slayton, Isaiah Hodgins, they're very interesting to me from the Giants side. I think those are the guys that you're looking at. Somewhere around probably, somewhere in the 30% neighborhood is probably where they're going to sit. I'll probably play them pretty evenly. I think Hodgins is the best play of the group, but he's also the most expensive. So that's where, the Richie James and Darius Slayton exposure probably comes in. Really love A.J. Brown, really love Devontae Smith. However, I think that this is a game where Dallas Goedert probably has a bigger role than usual. Just the type of game it's going to be, the relationship that he has with Hurts, the fact that Hurts is going to get probably a lot done on the ground in this game. I love them. But they're not cheap. A.J. Brown coming in at 10.8 and Devontae Smith coming in at 9.6. So, I'm going to definitely have some exposure there. Again, going to keep it under 40%, I would imagine. But all the receivers are going to be, kind of in the same boat, even though obviously their skill levels are different, but their salaries are drastically different as well. All right, tight ends. I do like Dallas Goedert here, like I said. Between captain and flex, I could see, 70% or so here of him. Price tag is $6,200, drastically cheaper than Smith and Brown. Obviously, the ceiling is much lower as well, but, I can see a double-digit effort here from him, especially if he gets in the end zone, then, definitely going to get to double digits. So I'm liking it. Lawrence Cager is really interesting to me. He's only $1,400. He has been seeing decent action for his price. You can probably rely on 2 targets out of him, which doesn't sound like a lot, but again, we're talking 1,400, and he gets you 2 catches for 20 yards. You got 4 points, and he's making that $1,400 salary pay off very well. So you could play some Bellinger here if you wanted to, but I definitely like Cager much better because of the salary. If you wanted to play Bellinger, you're looking at $4,800. So, 3 times the cost, and then some. So that's why my interest is much more in the camp of Cager. And then kickers, again, I think, lower scoring game. So I think kickers are very much in play here. I'm a little more interested in Jake Elliott than I am Graham Gano because, again, I expect that the Eagles win this game. So I expect they're going to put up more points. Since I don't think a lot of points are going to be scored, that leans me, more towards Elliott. If we look at his cost, he's only 4,200. So again, you can get pretty decent, scoring from kickers without them costing you a whole lot. Double-digit efforts are not crazy, and I can see either one of these kickers getting double digits in this game, especially Elliott. In the last 3 games, he's kicked 3 field goals over 50 yards. That's a lot of points here in DFS. And so I could definitely see double digits from either one of these guys. Normally, I put a rule in place that says 1 kicker max per lineup. Again, I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't mind putting, 2 kickers in the same lineup here. Probably won't happen just because there are plenty of other options to choose from. And especially on the Giants side of the ball, they're not too expensive. So I doubt that I'll need to resort to 2 kickers. But in this matchup, it's definitely in play. I theoretically could argue this would be a rare case where maybe you could consider Jake Elliott as a captain. I don't think that this is that precise matchup in this precise game where a kicker makes sense. But I could argue for, some exposure if you really wanted to Elliott in the captain spot. But I won't be going there. And then defenses, again, similar to the kickers, I'm expecting a lower scoring game here. So defenses are in play. I'm probably going to shy away from the Giants just because the Philly offense is really good. And, if I'm wrong on the game script, I'm much more likely to be wrong in the Giants, losing big than I would be the Giants winning big. So, $1,000 price difference here, but I don't expect that the Giants are gonna do a whole lot. Hard to sack. Jalen Hurts is so elusive. Doesn't really throw a ton of picks. Giants don't get a lot of picks. It would take a defensive touchdown for the Giants to really be in play here, I think, and I'm certainly not relying on that. Eagles defense is a little bit different. I see them getting to the quarterback here a little bit more. They've gotten sacks against Jones in the past. As a matter of fact, week 14, they had 7 sacks. That was a game that counted. So, I'm interested there. Jones can definitely turn the ball over as well. So don't think I'm going to have a lot of exposure to them. Definitely not in the captain spot, but I could see something in the 20% neighborhood maybe. A little bit of salary savings, very similar to the kicker. The $4,200 or $4,400 for the Eagles defense. I'm sorry. It can pay off here. So it's definitely something that you can consider. I appreciate you tuning in for the video here. Make sure you drop a like on this if you haven't done so yet. That really helps it out. If you have not subscribed for some reason, but you've been watching and enjoying these videos, pop on over here, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications so you get an alert every single time a new video comes out. And then make sure you check out all the rest of the divisional round showdown matchups. I'm doing one for each video, and I'm going to do one for the slate as a whole. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you enjoy the games.